So let's move on to this afternoon's session. It's going to be split into 3 parts, and it's entitled Youth Employment, Skilling Up for the Future. So the first part of the session, we're going to hear from my colleague Lindsay Waite, who is from Catch-22's employability team. And she's going to give an overview of the various programs that we run here at Catch-22 alongside some fantastic partners. And she'll be telling you a little bit about how we do that, our approach, and the impact that those programs have had. We're then going to be talking to a young person who's taken part in one of our programs and really about their experience over the last 12 months during the pandemic, their career aspirations, and what they're doing now. And then I'm going to be joined by 2 colleagues from our employability team who are going to be talking about some of the challenges that they faced during the pandemic, how they've overcome those, and the work they've been doing to support young people into employment. As ever, please do use the session Q&A box. Again, it's on the right-hand side. So rather than event, if you try and use the session one, because it just means everyone in this session will be able to see the questions. You can ask them anonymously. There's a little switch at the bottom of the Q&A box. So if you want to put a question to the panel, we'll try and get through as many of those as we can. And if anyone would actually like to ask a question live on screen, you can click the request to share audio and video button, and I can bring you onto the screen. All you need to do is state your name and where you're from. And I think that is probably it, really. So I'm going to invite Lindsay onto the screen now. So Lindsay, if you'd like to share your video, there we go. And as I said, Lindsay works in our employability team, and I've got some slides to share. So let me just do that, and then we'll kick off, Lindsay, if that's all right. So as soon as you can see my slides, you can kick off.
Okay, thank you. So, supporting young people into work in this Euromet 2021. So, with youth unemployment levels rising, we are here today to give you an overview of how Catch-22 supports young people into work. We'll also be interviewing a young person who's been supported by Catch-22 to hear about how they've been able to secure work and training opportunities thanks to our programs. So these are the different contracts that we have at Catch-22. We've got Bright Light, Inspiring Families, Microsoft Digital Edge, Digital Leap, Horizons, Grid for Good, Jets, Barclays Connect with Work, Google Social Switch, and Family Works. So we're going to start with Bright Light. So this program has been designed to support care leavers aged 16 to 25 years old into apprenticeships, employment, education and training, while supporting them to build confidence, overcome barriers and realise their potential. This is a bespoke programme and it's purely for care leavers, offering one-to-one support, access to career opportunities, training and self-development. So Bright Light's delivery offer. So it's supportive, tailored and bespoke one-to-one career coaching for care leavers, coordinating the needs of care leavers with other key workers, regular community-based appointments with a career coach, one-to-one support with applications, cover letters and CVs, reverse job marketing for apprenticeships and employment opportunities, opportunity to access live apprenticeship and employment vacancies via the Partnership Development Manager, researching and accessing education, training courses and work experience, interview techniques and employers' expectations workshops, self-confidence and motivation building workshops, signposting to support services to assist with barriers or constraints, better off calculations and money management support, travel, training and attending appointments with care leavers, support with travel, clothing and other expenses related starting to work, and 12 months of ongoing support beyond starting an apprenticeship or employment for both the care leaver and the employer. So the eligibility for Bright Light is to be aged 16 to 25 years old. It's for care leavers only. They do need to be willing and able to start work or apprenticeship within the next 12 months, ready to start education and training opportunities in the next 3 to 12 months, ready to actively search for their next career steps, be that education, training or employment. And location for Bright Light is across London. So the next contracts we have here are Digital Leap and Digital Edge. So backed by Microsoft and Salesforce, we are a program designed to deliver a 4-week course designed to be a pre-apprenticeship or pre-employment service for the tech or digital sectors. So as part of that, they also receive 6 months one-to-one support from one of our career coaches. We aim the program at people aged 18 to 45 with an interest in tech and digital roles who may face barriers or exclusion from the sector and are currently out of work and not in education. So the course details, so it's broken down into 4 weeks. So week 1, they would look at eligibility, a breakdown of the course, understanding of digital roles, confidence gained in the ability to recognise their own skills and strengths and link that to digital careers. And then in week 2, they'd have a clear understanding of the realistic job goals, recognise steps within a digital career path, and have confidence in writing a skills-based CV. In week 3, they would recognise how to communicate skills gained from this project for their own CV and online profile in relation to preferred job goals. And then in week 4, they would be able to confidently communicate why they are suitable for a digital position and prepare for interviews and actively apply for roles. So then they get 6 months of additional career coach support, which would be with job applications and interview preparation. So eligibility for Digital Leap and Digital Edge is age 18 to 45, not in full-time education, training or employment, live in the UK for the last 3 years, available to attend all sessions over 4 weeks, must have some interest in digital and technology. And these are located, Digital Leap is London and Digital Edge is London, Manchester, Liverpool and Birmingham. Okay, so go on to Horizons, which is one of our newest contracts. So Horizons is Catch-22's core employability program. It is set to initially help 400 people who face barriers into work, into jobs and training. So our ambition is to support more than 20,000 people in Birmingham, Liverpool, London and Manchester into work or training over the next 4 years. Horizons is one of the first programs to remove unemployment and underemployment, where work is either low paid, unstable or without opportunities to progress. The programme is initially for young people living in London, aged 16 plus. Melissa seems to have gone. Technical issues. Just bear with us a second. Luckily, I have a backup. Bear in a second. Okay, so I'm going to carry on from here. So the Horizons, so the overarching journey is a 12-week program. So originally they would outreach to the individuals, then there would be a 3-week employability intervention, applications and mock interviews, and then once the job or apprenticeship is secured, it would be 6 months in work support for the individual.
Lindsay, are you still there?
It's okay, yeah, I'm still here. Are you there? Can you hear me, Melissa? Okay, I'm just going to carry on. I think Melissa's having issues. Okay, so from the outreach to the employers, so there would be one-to-one engagement, volunteering, diversity training and virtual work experience. And then once the job is secured, they would have 6 months in work support for the employer. Okay, so the candidate journey. So the first part is the targeted outreach. So proactively finding young people facing complex barriers through local partnerships with charities, job centres and local authority teams. And then one-to-one support and a career plan. So helping young people map their strengths, build aspirations and work out a plan with their advisors. And then pre-employability coaching at step 3. So a 3-week pre-employability training using group work, peer support and one-to-one coaching to build skills such as teamwork and problem solving. And then they would move on to applications and interviews, and then they would have their 6 months in work support. So moving on to Grid for Good. So National's Grid new flagship corporate responsibility community investment programme is delivered in partnership with Catch-22. It delivers upskilling and employment opportunities for young people with barriers into work nationally. Over the next 12 months, we will see 450 young people aged 16 to 30 with barriers to work to go through this unique training programme. So this includes industry insights, team building, employability upskilling, one-to-one mentoring and paid work experience. And this is leading to apprenticeships, graduate opportunities, internships and other job opportunities. So eligibility for Grid for Good is participants must have access to a phone or computer to join the virtual sessions and be aged 16 to 30. So National Grid target groups within disadvantaged youth are low or no income, shock unemployment as a result of COVID-19 or wider circumstances, BAME background and young offenders. So then we have JETS. So we deliver this service on behalf of our charity partner, which is Shaw Trust, who gain their referrals via DWP in the Hertfordshire area. So this provision is an extension of the Work and Health programme and was designed to support participants affected by COVID-19. So JETS is tailored expert coaching for people facing social barriers such as housing, mental health, convictions, support to secure high quality work placements with good progression and opportunity. So pre-employability skills, we have online sessions for up to 50 participants and one-to-one support, and over 50 sessions to choose from, delivering up to 300 sessions per week. So the candidate journey for JETS is they are referred originally to Shaw Trust, and they get an employment coach who will use telephone, video, and if allowed, face-to-face interventions. Then they get their one-to-one support and career plan. So they build the relationship, help them map out their strengths and build aspiration and work out a plan. Then they have part 3, which is pre-employment on programme. So this is the group work, peer support, one-to-one interventions to develop both employability and practical skills. And then step 4, applications and interviews. And step 5 would be in-work and in-work support. So now we have Connect with Work, which is Barclays. So Barclays Connect with Work is a fully funded, socially responsible employment programme that supports individuals who have faced barriers to work into a job or apprenticeship. So Barclays is our biggest and longest standing partnership funder. The programme works on both sides of the recruitment process, providing support and advice for employers and support and training for the employee. Support is maintained throughout the process and for up to 6 months in work. Barclays training budget is a separate fund which allows us to support and upskill individuals. Barclays provides a number of additional learner experiences, including virtual work experience, workshops such as money management and interview skills, as well as sessions delivered in partnership with LinkedIn. So the programme offer is one-to-one mentoring with a personal advisor, motivation and confidence building, job search and application support, CV writing and interview preparation, mock interviews, training and supported entry into apprenticeship and employment, signposting to support services, and in-work support and coaching. And eligibility for Barclays Connect with Work is actually open to all ages, 16 plus, must not be in full-time employment, must live in the UK, and face a barrier to work, for example, a single parent, homelessness, mental health challenges, long-term unemployed, and much more as well. And locations for Connect with Work is London, Liverpool, and Manchester. So moving on to Family Works and Inspiring Families. So these programmes are voluntary employment support programmes in the boroughs of Islington, Newham, Tower Hamlets, Barking and Dagenham, Havering, Enfield and Haringey. They've been designed to support local people who are part of a family with complex barriers to gain employment, improving life for the whole family. Catch-22 are delivering this contract in collaboration with G4S and Serco on behalf of the DWP. So eligibility must be age 16 plus, unemployed or inactive, so not working or signing on, and part of a family unit, but family unit does not need to include children. Family members do not need to be living with each other. And the support you can get on these contracts is a dedicated personal advisor, tailored journey designed to overcome personal barriers, confidence and motivation building sessions, CVs and cover letter preparation, job search and application coaching, interview prep, mock interviews, access to exclusive vacancies sourced specifically for caseload needs, interview clothing to keep, better off calculations, hidden job market top tips, financial support for the first month in work, and in-work support for the first 6 months. Okay, so moving on to social switch project. So over the last 2 years, Google.org, Catch22, Red Thread, and the Mayor of London's VRU have worked together to create the Social Switch project. The Social Switch project switches the narrative on how social media's relationship to youth violence is understood, tackled, and solved. So we have 3 strands. So strands 1 is training for practitioners to enable them to challenge negative online behaviour. Strand 2 is supporting young people into sustainable digital careers. And strand 3 is funding grassroots projects which bring communities together. So the theory of change, so the Social Switch project, so promotes online safety, addressing negative behaviours through trusted adults, creates economic opportunity, training young people to translate and build their digital skills, fulfilling demand in the UK workforce, supports young men and women from ethnic minority groups and those at risk of youth violence through proactive outreach, and bridges the digital divide, upskilling and translating skills into real-world earning. So theory part 1, so frontline professionals who hold a positive relationship with young people can support them through challenges and opportunities of the online world. Training practitioners helps challenge young people's engagement and flag safeguarding. And theory 2 is young people already possess the skills to tell their own stories online, and social media has never before seen opportunities for expression and creativity. Young people don't always know how to access these opportunities and often have nowhere to go for support, opportunities and pathways for positive progression. So strand 2 offers those pathways to translate their talent into opportunity. Okay, so I'm just going to stop sharing a moment, if you just bear with me a second. Okay, so I believe Melissa isn't here right now, so if we have Emma and Christina want to come back on.
Hi guys.
Hi. No, I'm not entirely sure what's happened.
Don't worry,
Melissa's there. Who's here?
Lindsay, I'm back, and you took over very well, and it was all very smooth. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. My slides suddenly stopped. But thank you so much for that. And I just wanted to say to everyone listening that if you do have any questions for Lindsay or indeed Christina or Emma, Christina and Emma are assistant directors of employability at Catch22, and they're involved in all these programs that Lindsay's mentioned in her presentation. So please do put questions into the Q&A box, because I know to answer those now. So let's move on to the next section then. I'm going to invite Hayley Campbell onto the screen as to share your audio, if you can. Just wait a minute or so for Hayley to come up. No problems there. I'm going to just give it a 30 seconds and we'll see. But if not, we do have a plan B, so it's absolutely fine. And just to give you a bit of background, was part of our Inspiring Families programme. So Lindsay talked about that in her presentation. And Hayley's had a really sort of successful journey with Catch22, actually, really positive outcome in terms of her employability. So that's why we wanted to have a quick chat with her. And there we go, as if by magic, she's appeared. Hi, Hayley.
Hi, guys.
Hi, how you doing? Don't worry, we've all had a few technical glitches this afternoon, but we're good. Lindsay's done a presentation very smoothly, and I was just explaining to attendees that you were part of our Inspiring Families programme. You've had a kind of bit of a journey with us over the last 12 months or so. So can I just begin by asking you what your employment situation was before you came into contact with Catch22?
Yeah, so I had employment history before. Business admin and childcare, that was my main predominant background, but I was unemployed. I fell pregnant unexpectedly. So therefore I was a single parent, looking for work, wanted to go back into work, but I lacked the confidence essentially, and just felt that because I had been out of work for the 2 years that I was out, I've had him, I thought, oh, how am I going to get back into work? There's a massive work history gap now. I still had the knowledge, but, on paper, there was that huge gap. And so therefore, I just lacked a lot of confidence, I think, in myself after becoming a mother and, not being in the working environment in the world anymore for so long. I knew I had it on paper, the skill set, but I guess within myself, I just felt like I didn't have that. So that was essentially my kind of overview of before.
Perfect, thanks, Hayley. And so you then came in contact with Catch-22. You kind of got into this Inspiring Families program. What kind of support were you given during that period? I mean, you've talked about you lacked confidence. What presumably we were able to kind of give you some of that back. But what other support were you given?
Yeah, no, I had an amazing work advisor. She worked with me very closely, was very attentive, made sure that I felt confident. I understood everything, coached me into understanding the skill set that I had and really opening the gifts that I already had within, essentially, and trying to open that up to me and making me realize, that all the transferable skills that I had from being a mother and not just forgetting about work for a moment, but applying the skills that I had without even working. So it doesn't have to always be directly from work, and knowing that something personal can be transferable and adaptable towards the working world, and to really, helping me shine, I guess, and helping me understand and see that for myself, and not just her telling me, but me actually noticing myself. And then going on to separate programs that was provided through Catch-22 to also aid my confidence and to do practice interviews, CV, cover letters, and etc. to help within employment and kind of just get back on the horse, essentially. And to feel that, and to definitely feel that confidence, so that I have all the necessary skills that would require me to go back into the working world.
Perfect. And obviously some of this was going on during the pandemic. How did that kind of affect firstly the support you got from Catch-22, but also then when you're applying for jobs?
Yeah, for sure. As you all know, we've all been affected by COVID in some way or another, unfortunately. So yeah, that was a very hard task. I had my little one obviously at home. We were inside 24/7. I think the stresses of just general day-to-day life was one of them. And then also just applying for jobs and seeing obviously the job market, maybe wanting people to maybe go into work for some jobs, and that wasn't something I was able to do. Like I said, I am a single mother, so I just wasn't able to do that. And just trying to find something working from home, and obviously so many people wanting to work from home, those jobs obviously snapped up. And I just thought, how am I going to be able to compete against these people that probably have a longer history of work or been in the same industry for longer, and I also want to do the same application or apply for that same job and feel confident that I could possibly even get to interview stage. So she was really helpful with helping me with that, and understanding that everyone's in kind of the same boat, and it's just about believing in yourself and putting out those skill sets through a cover letter and a CV, and just, I guess, being myself.
Yeah, brilliant. So let's fast forward now to your kind of current situation. So fill in the gap. You were in this situation. You got some support. Yeah. Where are you now?
So now I work for Catch. So I now do a similar role as what my advisor did, but I work for Catch. And I'm a coach. I wanted to give back and do the same thing that she had done to someone else. I had a history of helping people and mentoring, but I think I always knew I wanted to help people, but I just didn't know what kind of job I wanted to do. And I had admin. I thought, I don't want to go back into an office. And I was like, I want to help back and help people and give people that same ability to open up their gifts and see their true qualities, because I believe everyone does have those, and that's what I do now. So I do work from home and I do have that job. So there you go.
Brilliant. And you've been with us, I don't know how long, maybe 3 months now, is it?
Yeah.
Or coming up to 3 months? Yeah. So just talk us a bit of skills that you've gained during your kind of previous career, and then during the program that you were on. How has that helped you support more young people? Because I mean, this is what we're talking about now, supporting young people into work. So how's your experience, sort of, have you been able to bring that to your current role, would you say?
Yeah, no, I think for sure, where I do actually have a background in childcare and mentoring and coaching. So obviously on a practitioner level, obviously having that experience of seeing how young people feel, the challenges they face, the barriers that they may have, whether it's confidence or just lack of experience of the area they live in and just lack of opportunity. And then now seeing on the flip side, obviously me also being a young person and being in that position of, being a parent and a young person at the same time. And maybe having having necessary skills, but not, I guess, unleashing those skills and recognizing that, day-to-day skills, it's not all just about work. People have real life skills, and it's not just about, having a job for 10 years, because based on my age, I don't have 10 years experience. So yeah, I'm putting that into practice. I think that's definitely something that I've been able to put into work and understand it from both ends. So one being a service user and being a young person, and having a lot of the barriers that the participants now have that I'm faced with. and I've been able to understand and really be in their shoes quite literally, and being empathetic, and being able to listen in, I guess, homing on my own personal skill set as well as their own. So no, I definitely think it.
Thank you, Haley. Just finally, because I know you have to head off, but I just wanted to ask you sort of what your message would be to employers who, many of whom have struggled during this period, but will now be looking to fill vacancies potentially, particularly in some of the growth industries. But what would be your message to them when thinking about, just the sheer number of young people who are facing unemployment at the moment? What would you say to them in terms of, taking on young people and giving them a chance?
Yeah, no, I would honestly say from a personal perspective, as well as being a coach now myself, is to definitely give people a chance. It's always worth giving someone a chance, because at the end of the day, I always say to people, the sky isn't the limit, and everyone was once in that position themselves. So no one just started off being a CEO or director or whatever. Everyone had to learn somehow, some way. So to give people the opportunity and to think back to when you were maybe in that position or you were a lot younger, whether it's seeing someone drive your favorite car or having the house that you really wanted, to give someone that opportunity and let them shine, because everyone has a skill set to be unleashed. And even the most quietest of people that you think, may not be able to do, a presenting job, may have such an amazing skill. And it's just about you giving them that chance and, helping them unleash that opportunity and give them the opportunity to start in that career. So to not look down on people that may not have the work skills, but to see their transferable skills in their own personal lives. And just give them a chance. Everyone deserves a chance.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Haley. And a nice comment in the chat box here saying, thank you, Haley, for telling your story. It was so nice to hear, because we're also working with youngsters applying for jobs. All the best, and greetings from Finland. So one of our European colleagues coming in there. So fantastic. And thank you, Haley. I know it's actually your day off today, but it shows the commitment to the cause for coming to speak to us. So thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Excellent. So I'm going to now invite Christina Hicks and Emma Allix back to the screen, and Lindsay as well, if you'd like to join us. So as I said, Christina and Emma are both assistant directors in Catch-22's Employability Hub, working with hundreds of young people to help them into work, Haley being one of them. And it is inspiring, really, to hear her story. Can I start with you, Christina, just to ask you maybe of some other success stories of young people you've worked with, particularly over the last sort of 12 to 18 months, and how you've worked with them, and what they're up to now, essentially.
Of course. Well, obviously you saw at the beginning all the vast array of different programs we have where we're working with young people. One that's particularly close to my heart, because I used to program manage it, is the Social Switch project, where we work with young people from very difficult backgrounds, very close to the edges of youth violence, and try and progress them into digital careers. And so we've actually been running for the last 2 years and had some incredible success stories, including a young man who was due to join us today, but it's not very well. He was going to tell his story about how he ended up working at Google with an apprenticeship. And it's all about working with these young people about the things that they want to do and having a very person-centric approach. So we take a really close look at young people's barriers and talk to them about what it is they really want to do, and find the thing that really sparks the fire within them. And then we can offer them the different training and different skill sets they need to then progress onto those opportunities. He obviously he got the shiny job of the Google apprenticeship, but we have helped other young people into very different roles, and it's kind of about encouraging them to see past what seems like a really unattainable goal, to going like, actually, I'm really good at social media, I want to be a social media manager. It doesn't just have to be at Google, it could actually be for the local charity that I'm really passionate about. And so a lot of the progression results we've had are from young people who have a real want to help back, like Haley was just talking, want to give back. And so we've been able to link them up with local charities, and especially then that skill sharing as well across smaller charities who may not have tech skills themselves. And so that's been a real benefit to both young people and employers in the sector.
Thank you, Christina. And just want to bring Emma in on that point, really, because you've talked about the sort of various job opportunities out there, but clearly, Emma, there's been an impact on the job market because of the pandemic, in terms of roles that have been available. So can you tell us a bit about the kind of additional support that the employability team has given across its various contracts during the pandemic?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everybody. I guess really to touch on the sort of additional support that we provided. So I guess the main thing is we had to really adapt very, very quickly and ensure that all our contracts supporting those young people, even though it was remotely, but we made sure that we could adapt really quickly as this moved online. We did work with additional companies as well as ourselves at the digital poverty issue, and tackling that through loaning and gifting devices to young people, because that was a huge challenge. Young people were not able to work with us if they were unable to get online. So that's something that we worked really hard on at the very beginning and still tackle that now. We moved all our jobs fairs online, and interestingly, that's been one area that we've seen some steps moving forward with employers. Employers have been much more contactable during the pandemic and more interested in speaking to us and more available. I guess there's less gatekeepers, and we've spoken to the right people quite quickly, and they're engaged with us. So we put on several events around sort of jobs fairs, and they've been sector-led, or they've been a mixture of sectors. But we've had great attendance and engagement for young people for those particular events, and actually seen some really good results coming, securing apprenticeships and job offers and virtual work experience. So that, some of the other stuff that we've done as well is looking at other ways that we can upskill our young people. So we've got lots of different programs, which you would have seen from Lindsay's presentation, and some of those very much do have training involved in them, but some of the programs where it's not training led, we've now incorporated training within those programs, so we can upskill those young people. So as restrictions have lifted and as opportunities are more available, that they are enhanced in terms of their skill set and their transferable skills to be more ready and presented for those jobs as they come around. So we've seen some real good as well. We introduced wellbeing sessions as well for our young people, so lots of work went into supporting mental health, really worried about some of our young people and the impact of COVID-19. In particular on the Bright Light project, that's the programme where we're supporting care leavers into apprenticeships. In some scenarios, we were that main person they spoke to. You know, they may not have connections with any family, friends, maybe live in supported accommodation or live on their own, but literally we were their main, you know, lifeline. So it was really important, and more regularly than we were if we were out of the pandemic. So we've done loads of different things to ensure that our young people feel safe, secured, supported, and ultimately that they're upskilling themselves during this time, whether that be securing or preparing for opportunities for the future.
Thank you, Emma. I think my video's gone off. But presumably yeah, you can still hear me, presumably.
Still hear you.
I don't know. Yeah. Pick up on that point about digital delivery, and maybe Christina and Lindsay could come in on that, because clearly that was one of the big challenges over lockdown. Was, you know, many of the people we work with may not have had access to a device, and even those that do may not have the digital skills to be able to utilize it properly. So maybe Christina first, and then Lindsay. Just give us a flavour of how you managed to kind of adapt to that and skill people up and get them the equipment and all that kind of thing.
Absolutely, and obviously we sort of started off our training all being face-to-face, so moving that online suddenly seems quite a daunting thing to do, is tailor all your content to an online setting and making sure it's still really interactive. So we did lots of needs assessments with young people, talking through with them what kind of things they would find interesting, what format they would prefer, looking at the different platforms that we could use. Oh, that really threw me then. Sorry, my lessons dropped out for a second. But we were, yes, we looked at all the different platforms, and then we designed our program to make sure that young people would find it still engaging. We made sure the sessions were short and interactive, and that we had ways of checking in with people throughout. It also actually, we found that young people who perhaps would be nervous in a face-to-face setting really engaged really well with the online format, and we found ways of encouraging people to switch the cameras off, on and off, and so that they could actually get involved. But we also really made use of the technology available through our corporate partners, so using some of the innovative techniques to really upskill young people, so using things like AI interviewing techniques that we've got through our corporate partners with LinkedIn, but also accessing all the courses available through Microsoft and Google, to make sure that young people who, there is an assumption that they already have the skills to do this because they're on their phones all the time, but actually there's lots of basic things that they're not aware of, and so we have the ability to sort of signpost them to the right activities to be able to introduce them to those skills.
Thanks, Christina. I'm demonstrating that camera on and off quite well, aren't I? But deliberately, I have to say. Okay, great. Lindsay, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add on this.
I was going to say, Yeah, Christina just hit the nail on the head with all of that there, because I was thinking, oh, I'm going to say this and this. Actually, Christina, you did a good job.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Lindsay, let me come to you then. I mean, Emma kind of outlined a number of the challenges that the employability team faced during the lockdown. I mean, is there anything you wanted to add to that, just from your own perspective? You know, obviously we're running a whole suite of programs, but are there any other challenges that the young people faced that we were able to overcome during that period that may be worth kind of sharing with others?
I suppose, yeah, it's been difficult, hasn't it, going to online delivery. And I think just what Christina touched on there, you know, being able to, you know, they have the equipment, but might not be able to have, you know, the internet and logging in, and just having to talk them through that over the phone, you know, trying to get them on the phone. I think they're just really demotivated, you know, they're excited, especially young people who maybe have just come out of education and are really excited for the next stage of their life. And then all of a sudden there's just the job market is not there, and they don't necessarily have any of that work experience that they potentially needed to move forward. And I just think it's become a bit of a daunting time for them, like, what am I actually going to do next? And so engaging them on our programs for all different reasons gives them, you know, this time whilst we've been in lockdowns where they can't really go and get a job. It's about actually, right, let's make the best use of this time, and actually let's do interview prep, and let's build your confidence, and let's look at potentially career paths that you might not have thought about before. And I think that maybe it's brought people's motivation up to a level where they just feel like, okay, no, I know that this is that time, but actually it's going to come to an end, and I'll be ready for when that happens.
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay. I'm just going to turn to the chat now. So a lot of praise for Hayley. Excellent job, Hayley. Comment here, amazing effort from the team. Sounds like there's been a really holistic approach. That's great. And someone here, this is a colleague from Finland, I think, saying challenges in your work sound so familiar. So clearly, yeah, it wasn't just the UK that was struggling during this period. But yeah, really interesting. Please do share your experiences in the chat. And if you want to speak on screen, you can click share audio. We can bring you in, or any questions for the panel, let us know. Emma, I just want to turn to you now and talk a little bit about kind of employer engagement, because obviously this period, you know, you will have been working with employers, but how have you managed to do that effectively during this time when they themselves have probably been struggling with their own businesses?
I guess, you know, ultimately it's been a huge challenge for employers, and you know, one of the particular barriers that we faced was for young people that are interested in apprenticeships, that apprenticeships seem to disappear overnight, and that's completely understandable given that lots of companies weren't able to let alone think about using their levy. You know, we had opportunities where young people were due to start and then they got postponed, and you know, I guess recruitment freezes was, you know, a big picture for us at the beginning, particularly of the pandemic, and I guess with apprenticeships, a lot of the employers are now thinking about using that levy next year rather than using it at all this year. So that has been a particular challenge. But across, you know, employment opportunities, many sectors obviously were very much impacted, and a lot of young people are very interested in sort of admin roles. But hospitality and retail has always been a key sector for young people, and that is just not available. And we've had to work with young people looking at those second options like Lindsay mentioned. But with the employers, what we have found, as I said earlier, actually connecting with them, even though they are and have been suffering through the pandemic, they have been much more open and available to us to talk to. So we've managed to work quite closely with lots of employers and actually broker some great opportunities like virtual work experience, which has really enhanced the opportunities for our young people. And then look into the future and thinking about how they can increase their workforce with young people with, you know, new skills and different inputs that they can bring to their company. So it has been an interesting period where they have been effective, but they're equally very open, bringing young people through, which has been really encouraging. And we've had some employers, for example, that have worked with us where they have completely adapted the way in which they recruit. So, for example, interviews have had to be done online, and that's been quite tricky, coaching young people to interview as it is, but doing it online has been quite challenging. But they have been really and quite sensitive to that issue. But more importantly, the application process. We've worked with many employers that have now reduced their application process to make it more inclusive for young people that do have barriers. And that has been such a huge stride in making sure we can get young people through to those right opportunities, because they do have the opportunity and the resilience and the ability to do the job. It's just getting over that first stage. And we've gone so far with some employers that they've completely changed the entry level for one of the roles that we put a young person in, which they needed to drive. This young person couldn't drive at all, didn't have a license, but they still interviewed him, loved him. After we sort of renegotiated, he wouldn't have got past the application stage. So with all that negotiation, they are now paying for his driving lessons, which is unheard of. So lots of really wonderful conversations are happening. Employers are very engaged with us. We know it's challenging, but we are working with our employers to make those jobs more accessible for the future, and certainly looking at the opportunities they can offer now, even if those opportunities weren't available at the time. So like virtual work experience and taster sessions and stuff like that that's been put on. So it has been a great period actually for learning, I have to say.
Thank you, Emma. You touched on some of the industries that, or sort of the businesses that weren't recruiting during this period, but I just wanted to move on to kind of growth industries, because presumably there are some industries that actually required more staff during this period and will continue to do so post-pandemic. I don't know, maybe Emma, Christina, you want to come in on that point, which industries you found, are opening up more, have been open during the pandemic, and that we've been able to place people into?
Well, I think it's probably a fairly obvious one, but the digital industries have seen a massive increase, especially just over the lockdown period of recruitment. And luckily, with so we're doing, we have programs dedicated to training up young people in the digital skills sector. But it's sort of the growth industries and not the most recognisable areas, particularly. Some of them can be things like coding, cybersecurity, and these are often opportunities that young people aren't aware of or understand the skills that they need to do that. And so a lot of what our programs do is look at these different kinds of opportunities and the skills that are required, and then open kind of people's aspirations to trying different job roles other than the ones that are well known. And actually where there is a huge plethora of availability of roles coming up, and in the future, that's where we can sort of help hopefully channel young people towards.
Brilliant. Either Emma or Lindsay want to come in on that one?
We saw, some COVID-related jobs that came through the pandemic. On one of our programs, we had 66 at the testing centre and secured roles there. So that was a huge boost in terms of those individuals getting some experience, and a lot of them are still there now. I mean, obviously it's still ongoing, so it has been pretty sustainable, although it may not be the longest term opportunity, but it's definitely given the work experience and the income that those individuals have needed. Obviously, care itself, and roles within the NHS, we saw quite a big growth of that, obviously, during the pandemic. Market work, delivery drivers, all the things that we know that are now classed as key workers, which we may not have ever classed as key workers, a couple of years ago. We've definitely seen growth in those sectors too. And of course, one of the growth sectors, which has been ongoing for the last few years, is the construction industry. And that's been in and out a little bit over the pandemic, so it's been a little bit tricky, but we have seen quite a few individuals, particularly young people, that are now getting the training that they need. So we've been doing all sorts of things, preparing them for construction jobs, such as working at heights and asbestos removal, and obviously there's CSCS and just general training across different site work, so it makes them more employable. And a lot of those young people are now obtaining opportunities and traineeships and apprenticeships in those fields. So there's definitely growth in that, and that will continue this year for sure.
Absolutely. We've got about 5 minutes left, so would be really interested to hear from those attending sort of your own experiences of growth industries in your own countries, and whether you feel that, particularly if the schemes that have been put in place, whether they are going to help with the youth employment problem. We heard from Sam Olsen earlier this morning just about the extent of that problem across Europe. So if anyone's got any experiences to share, please do pop them in the chat. Colleagues, I just wanted to go back to that point about sort of some of the schemes that have been put in place by the UK government to try and bring us out of this youth employment situation. Emma, you mentioned about apprenticeships, and there was a drop off in that, and there's been money put, sort of financial incentives to encourage employers to take on apprentices. We've obviously got the Kickstart scheme, which Sam touched on this morning. So this is 6 months sort of placements for young people. What are your views on those schemes? And I guess the follow-on question from that is really about, what does success look like, and what about sustainability of roles? I don't know if anyone wants to come in on that. Emma, you look like You've got some.
I'm gearing up, aren't I? I mean, Kickstart in itself obviously is a great scheme that is going to offer employment opportunities and the much needed experience that some people absolutely need to get them on the ladder. I really hope that that does translate to apprenticeship and long-term opportunities within those companies. So that will be my hope for that scheme. And I guess, you know, it's a little bit of a negative for me as well, because that has impacted again on apprenticeships. But of course, for an employer, it's a great opportunity to bring, you know, new talent through their workforce and hopefully translate them into apprenticeships for next year. So I think we'll see an increase of apprenticeships happening, you know, certainly towards the end of the year next year. So that's kind of my thoughts on Kickstarter. So what was the other part of the question, Melissa?
About what does success look like essentially for these schemes? So, you know, things that have been put in place. How is success going to be measured in your eyes?
I think that, you know, success is about the sustainability. It's ensuring that those young people getting the training and the skills that they need to have a long-term career, and actually that it does open up more doors for them, rather than it just being seen as a scheme where, you know, it essentially is getting young people to do the workload and they're not necessarily gaining a great deal of skill out of that. So it's all about ensuring that this is a stepping stone to the next step. And you know, all young people need those stepping stones, and everyone has to start somewhere. So it's not that those entry level roads aren't appropriate, but I would like to see that there is, you know, a longer term plan, and there's definitely some training and some development within that. That's where it needs to be measured to success. So how many of those actually go into apprenticeships? How many of those then move into a sustainable job? So yeah, that's how I say it. I don't know if you see that differently, Christina.
I completely agree, and I think actually it's a really good step forward, whereas in the past we've had work experience where young people go for 2 weeks, are probably given some menial tasks, and then they tick it off and put it on their CV, and it's not really meaningful for anyone. And I think this is a really, really bold step forward to actually supporting young people to get that valuable work experience, as Emma says, but to actually learn on the job. And the fact that it's paid is amazing as well, because a lot of young people come from very difficult backgrounds and can't afford to just work for free, especially for that length of time. So I think it's a very good initiative, and it's hopefully it does translate into the results Emma talked about.
Yeah, and I guess we'll start seeing that in the next 6 months or so, once those because we, you know, some of the placements have already started for Kickstart, haven't they? I don't know, Lindsay, have you any comments on that? I know in your presentation you talked a lot about the kind of the catch-22 approach, about that wraparound support early on, that ongoing support once a young person is in work. I guess that's crucial for that point about, you know, meaningful and sustainable roles.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you know, it's all right getting young people ready to work, but then sending them out there to actually go and do the job every day. You know, there's, especially if it's the first time they've been in work, to actually understand how, you know, how they feel, and have that somebody that they can turn to ask questions where they might not feel confident enough to speak directly to their employer about things that they're unsure of. They might actually be struggling in the first month to actually pay for things like travel and work clothes, and so many of our programs offer that support as well. And you tend to find with the young people, you know, they get to like month 3, month 4, and they're like, I'm absolutely fine now, or, you know, everything's great. But it's nice just to keep in touch with them for that 6 months, you know, and have that support for sure.
Excellent. All right, we are probably about 30 seconds ahead of time, so I think that's a good place to stop. Thank you so much to the panel, obviously to Hayley as well. Thank you, Lindsay, for your presentation at the beginning. We're now going to take a short break before we go into the afternoon workshop sessions. The workshops will commence at 2:30 p.m. promptly, so please do come back, click the sessions tab, and you'll see the various options for the sessions that you can attend. Another plug for that NCS session tomorrow, the link is in the chat, so have a look at that. And I personally will see you again tomorrow morning at 9:30 on the dot for day 2. But thank you for attending this. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you back for the workshop in 15 minutes. See you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.